growing popularity of being self-sufficient, one topic of discussion that does come up is how we fare if you have to spend a night or a couple of nights in the woods. Though camping is not new to a lot of us, there are still some people that are just getting into this hobby or niche, and I want to provide some information for the people that just coming in to this video so they aren't going into the woods blindly. I'm going to go over what I bring with me to camping trips and reasons why I bring them. I do want to put a disclaimer out there that I am not the best backpacker out there. There are definitely other channels that do this full time and they have a lot more tips and techniques that are going to be useful to you guys. I'm just showing you the basics you may need if you want to go camping or backpacking in a place like this. So in this video, take my personal preferences lightly and keep an open mind to other ways to execute the same tasks. Your setup will vary depending on how far you'll be hiking, the location that you're gonna be camping in, and the different types of seasons that you'll be in. But that's enough. I'm gonna show you what I have in the pack and we'll just go on from there. So I'm gonna start from the top down so you guys can see everything that I bring. I'm gonna try to take everything out for you guys and I'll just lay it down here, but you'll see some footage of me using this equipment. All right, so we're gonna start with the top over here. Yeah, this is very important. So I bring a rain cover for my backpacking trips, and that's because obviously to protect my backpack from getting wet. It's already water resistant, but when you have a lot of valuables like socks and clothes and sometimes batteries and stuff like that, you want to make sure that's protected from the rain if you do have to move during a downpour. So this is definitely something you want to keep with you. I got it in multicam. It doesn't really help with camouflage because the sheen of the water resistant properties, but it was just something cool to break up the pattern of the backpack. If you want to hide your backpack or camouflage your backpack, there's all kinds of scrim you can get, and many companies laser cut scrim that you can use over your backpack. So water cover. I bring a knife with me. I usually keep a knife on me. I have a knife in my pocket right now, but I also have one that I'll keep in my backpack for, you know, processing smaller pieces of wood and creating tinder for a fire, and also cutting rope. So I keep one of these. A lot of people prefer fixed blades. I don't really camp or backpack hardcore. I backpack maybe once or 3 times a year. So it's not an occasional thing that I do, but it is nice to have a knife on you regardless if it's folding or fixed. Right here, I have my saw, and this is for processing bigger pieces of wood. I like this one because it has a locking mechanism on the back. This was actually gifted to me from my friend Cole. He didn't need it anymore. He got a better saw, but this has been very helpful. I've used this to cut down small trees and some pretty big branches. The last time I actually used this was on a camping trip where we actually slept in the snow, but I'm gonna talk about that a little later when I start talking about the sleep systems. So this is my saw. Highly recommend you have something like this, or at the bare minimum, the knife. I have stuff for dental. Yes, we're gonna be in the woods, and if this is a survival setting, you won't know how long you'll be in it, but it is good to have something like this to kind of keep your gums and your teeth clean. The last thing you wanna do is have an infection when you're really far away from people, right? So yes, it's waterless, so you don't have to have this or do use the water to activate the properties in this dental. And speaking of hygiene, I have dude wipes, and obviously this is used for using the restroom, cleaning yourself up, keeping certain areas of your body clean, and keeping the stank down. You're gonna stink after you go camping, but at least you can mitigate how much you stink. And the last thing that I keep up top is something to ride on. Now, this doesn't really get as much use as you would think for me right now, but it has come in handy for riding down certain landmarks. If I decide to go into the woods by myself to try to find some more firewood, or I saw something in the distance, it's good to write down certain things, or even just how much rations you have, how much food you have left if you do end up getting lost. I have a Write in the Rain notebook, so this is waterproof. Same as this pen. It's very small, very compact, and then it turns into a pretty much normal size pen. And I have one of these in my chest rig as well. I think I just skipped one of the most important things, was the backpack. So this is a Mountain Smith backpack. It's a 60-liter bag. Now, this is a very tall backpack, and if you wanted to go prone and shoot a rifle with this on, it's gonna make it very difficult because you have this up top. This is removable, but even the back skeletal frame can prevent you from turning your head all the way back. So if you want something that's gonna let you perform to the highest quality of combat, I wouldn't use something like this, but I got this a long time before I got into guns and stuff like that. Its main focus was to help me backpack through the woods. And the reason why I have a backpack like this instead of something like a JanSport is that it has these waist straps that put all the weight on your hips. For those that don't go hiking for a long or extended periods of time, having all the weight on your shoulders can really put a lot of stress on your shoulders, neck, and back, upper and lower. And you are not gonna be able to walk or hike long if those parts of your body are aching really, really bad. So when you put the weight on your hips, one, your legs are a lot stronger than your upper body and they can withstand a lot more weight and endurance. So you want something like this so you can buckle up at your hips and then keep the weight off your back. And for whatever reason your hips may start to hurt, you can loosen the straps here and put the weight back on your shoulders just for a little bit to give your hips a break, and then you can strap them back on and go for another couple miles. That's this backpack. It has a lot of straps to cinch it down to like really get everything compact once you've packed the bag. And then it also has loops all over the place so you can attach things on the exterior if you need to. This top panel here is removable, but I'm not gonna be taking it off all the way. I'm just gonna show you what I keep on the underside because there is a portion under here that you can keep utensils and stuff like that. So in here is where I keep my eating utensils, and it's also where I keep my food. When you are out and you're hiking, you wanna save as much weight as possible. So you're not gonna wanna be packing slices of steak or big pieces of chicken and stuff like that. You wanna keep it very compact and easy to maneuver. And what I have here is a Mountain House meal, and it's a dehydrated meal. So this is actually lasagna and meat sauce, but it has been dehydrated. And for those that don't know what that means, it's pretty much dehydrate the food. And then all you have to do is when you go out camping, you have to heat up some water and pour it into this, and it turns this back into its original state. And I'm not gonna lie, these are really, really good. You can also have MREs, but these are my go-to just because they're in the local Walmart and REIs in my area. I really love these, and I'm gonna have one of these today. So I'll have one for every meal and then some extra just in case if anything happens, I have food. All right, over here in the front, extra socks. I do sometimes bring an entire change of clothes, but that's really rare. Usually I'll bring an extra shirt or maybe just an extra pair of pants, but I always have multiple pairs of socks. And the reason is when you're out in the woods, a lot can happen. Your shirt gets wet, okay, you can take it off, you can hang it up, boom, you're done. Pants get wet, you can roll them up, or when you're going to sleep, you can hang them up, let them dry. But if your socks get wet, they are in your shoe and they have no way of airing out. They're in a closed, dark, confined space. And the problem with having water on your feet is that you're introducing blisters, sores, and when your feet are compromised, you're pretty much done. If your feet are taken out of the game, you're kind of done. You can't move. Your feet are the thing that keeps you going, literally, gets you from point A to point B. So without these, you're kind of stuck in place. So you want to take care of your feet as much as possible. I also wear waterproof boots and stuff like hiking boots and stuff like that. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but take care of your feet and keep medical for your feet as well. I also keep my compass over here for obvious reasons. You need to know how to navigate the areas that you're going to. If you do get lost, it is good to know where north is at all times. And navigation is a skill that all of us should be learning. So yeah, compass, very important. And my radio. I keep one of these in my chest rig as well, and I have one in my room. This is a Baofeng UV5R, super cheap radios. There's really no excuse to not get one of these. I believe they're like $22 or $25 each. And then I have a few batteries, spare batteries in here as well. You can get the extended batteries that'll give this a couple of days worth of charge. Yeah, these are really good just for emergency settings or just kind of being in the know in the area that you're in. You can program these for local weather channels, and you can program them for local EMS, police, emergency frequencies, stuff like that. So get one of these. Don't just buy it and put it in your bag. Learn how to use them, learn how to scan frequencies, learn how to bounce off repeaters, and learn the frequencies or channels that are gonna be in your area used for EMS and emergencies and stuff like that. All right, let's go into the pack. So I have water purification. Now I do keep water on me when I'm hiking, just so I have some quick access to water to stay hydrated. And this is just a liter, but if I'm going to a place that has a water source, I want to be able to use that water as well. When you're hiking, weight is a huge factor, and you don't want to be carrying too much extra weight or you're going to gas out way earlier than you usually would. So you want to save weight where you can. And for me, saving a lot of weight is purifying water in the areas that I'm going to. I try to find moving water, sitting water, I try to stay away from, but if you do find sitting water and that's all you have, there are other ways that are a little bit more powerful than just gravity filtration. Yeah, I just find running water. I fill up one of these bags. There's a filter head in here that you can screw onto it, turn it upside down, and gravity does the rest. You can also put one of these filter heads on a water bottle and screw it on there, fill up the water bottle and squeeze it, and it'll push the water through if you need water, you know, instantly. Paracord. Paracord can be used in a ton of ways. If you guys watched my EDC video, I used to have a paracord bracelet that I kept on me because, again, paracord is very useful. I use this for hanging up my tarp. I use this for tying knots and to make structures. I've used this for tying a bumper onto a car. So paracord is very strong and it has so many ways to be used. I also use it for a clothing line sometimes if my clothes get wet. This stuff right here, you can never have enough, and you always want to bring this with you because you will find a way to use it at some point. I got gloves. I really only use these if I'm getting a lot of firewood, like if I know we're gonna have a huge fire on a trip. But other than that, I haven't had a use for them outside of cold temperatures, cold weather. It's good to have gloves. I mean, it's useful, it's a comfort thing. Some items in here will be luxury items, meaning you don't have to have them, but it is nice having them because it's like, you know, added luxury to your camping experience. So gloves, add that onto the packing list, as well as everything else I'm talking about, and you can take off whatever you think you don't need. Raincoat. This is a North Face raincoat. It's my favorite one. I have it in army green because that is one of my favorite colors, and it packs down very nicely. You would think that everyone would know to bring a raincoat to a camping trip, but my dumb self didn't for a couple of trips. And then my last trip, it poured and I was stuck with nothing. It was a miserable experience, but I fought through it, and my buddy Trent gave me one of his disposable ponchos, and that helped a little bit. But yeah, raincoat, make sure you have one of these. Even if you don't think you're gonna use it, just pack it anyway, because if it does rain, you're gonna be happy that you had it. Got a pretty cool flashlight, a spotlight really, and it has this little removable lens on the top of it that turns it into red light, but without it, it's just normal white light. So typically I'm using the headlamp when I am out in the woods, but it's also nice to have something that's handheld or something a little bit more powerful if you want to see further. Got a med kit. Now, I probably should move the stuff to something smaller, but I have it in this bag because this is what I used to carry on my range belt. I've removed it from my range belt because it's a little bulky, and it's even bulky putting it in a bag like this. So yeah, you can put it in a bag this big, but I'd recommend finding something smaller. And it's always good to have medical on you because you never know what's gonna happen, and you don't want to be out there getting infections with an open wound. So have medical on you. This one should be obvious, but just putting it out there for you guys to know. Pillow, inflatable pillow. I use this every time I sleep in my hammock just because my neck is pretty sensitive and I'm a baby. So I have this, it hangs up, it has a carabiner clip that hangs onto the top of my hammock, and it makes sleeping a lot better. All right, so my eating system. So this is pretty cool. I really can't remember where I got this, but it's these two pots that fold into each other to save space with this cool mesh netting to protect it. I use this for boiling water and making food, the obvious things. And these handles, like these little grips on the side, just in case you're using this to make coffee and you don't want to touch it, you can touch the rubber grips on the side and prevent yourself from getting burned. And then you can fold this out and it becomes a handle for pots as well. And then I also have my propane and my stovetop. So this stovetop I got off of Amazon a long time ago, and it screws onto the top of this. And just like that, I'm able to heat up food, make breakfast, boil water for the dehydrated meals. Before I get into my sleep system, I'm gonna show you guys what I have in these waistband pouches real quick because we're almost done here, and I don't wanna go into the sleep system because once I pull that out, I'm probably gonna set that up. So in here, I have chapstick because you need chapstick. And then I have a lighter and a fire starting brick. You don't need this, but sometimes, or after a shower or something like that, it's just easier to light one of these under some semi-damp wood just to get the wood dry, and then it'll start burning again. So this is kind of like my last resort because I have more fire starting stuff in this one over here, but this is just in case I can't get the fire started with my other tools. I have my emergency blanket. This is good for retaining heat if you were to fall into some cold water in the winter months. And then it's also good for signaling for an emergency if you're lost or you need to be found, and something simple like that. This is my fire starting stuff. So I have it in a plastic bag because I want this to stay dry. I have napkins and lint in here, which I don't really need to pull that out. And then I have flint and steel, which is very easy to use. And then I have this really dried up rope. It came with this kit, so this is what I use to start my kindling. I'll break this up, I'll take off a piece of this and break it up, and then I'll have smaller twigs on top of it to have the fire starting off, and then I'll start throwing in bigger sticks and then logs eventually. So this is what I use primarily for starting fires. It's super simple, super small, and it's not that messy. All right, so for the sleep system, I have a tarp. This tarp is super easy to use. It has so many loops you can use to configure any shape you want when setting up this tarp. You can even use this as a shelter by itself. So that's a really cool feature. I've used this as a tent. I've used this as a rain cover, and I've used this for just retaining heat when I have a fire. I'd have it slanted over the fire, so it was trapping the heat on my side and then letting any excess out on the other. Got this off of Amazon, really cool tool. It says Free Soldier. I see a lot of people using this as well, so it's really cool to see that I didn't buy something that was completely useless. So when I camp, I am a hammock camper. I prefer it. I camped in tents for a very long time when I was in the Cub and Boy Scouts, but with a hammock, I find that I sleep a lot better. It's free floating, sometimes swinging side to side. It's just very peaceful, and I can use it as a chair as well. I really love camping in hammocks. This was given to me by my friend Cole. It's a double hammock, and I love it. I use it just for leisure, and then I use it for when I go camping. Extra propane, forgot about that. You want to have extra propane for when you cook, because if you run out, you're gonna be very upset. I have my hammock straps, and they go with the hammock. They strap it up to the trees, and I have the Inu ones because these have more loops than the standard ones that came with this. So I actually upgraded to these, and it's made my life a lot easier. Going back to luxury items, this is a portable chair. I don't think you have to have this, but it is nice to have somewhere to sit no matter where you decide to camp. A lot of the times when we go camping, like right here, I don't really have anywhere to sit except for when I set up my hammock, but I also found a log back there, but that's so far out of the way that I didn't want to put my hammock over there. So having a portable chair, it's nice. This was given to me by my friend Trent. You probably heard his name earlier in the video too, and it was just a gift from him, so really cool. Now, just because I have my hammock and a tarp does not mean that I am set. Even in the summer months, when you're elevated off the ground, your body heat is escaping from the bottom of the hammock, and you constantly have a breeze underneath you. So believe it or not, in the summer, when you go to sleep, you can actually get really, really, really cold with a hammock. You're just sleeping on parachute material. So to combat that, we have two things. We have an overquilt, which looks somewhat like a sleeping bag. And pretty much you lay this, it's like sleeping in a sleeping bag, but backwards. Like it goes over you and you kind of tuck yourself into it. And the opening is towards the bottom of you. But yeah, you have that, and you have something called an underquilt, which does what you may think it does. It covers the underside of you. But you don't put this underneath you per se, you put it on the bottom of the hammock so that when your body heat leaves the hammock through the bottom of the hammock, this catches it and keeps the hot air underneath you. You have the overquilt, underquilt, the hammock, and a tarp. And that's pretty much all you'll need to sleep in. But that is everything that I take with me when I go camping. A lot of this may look like a lot, but as you saw, all that fit into a bag like this. Now, I do want to say that definitely don't have to go and spend a ton of money right away. Look at what you want to do, what you want to accomplish when you go hiking or camping, or if you're doing a bug out bag, then you're going to have some other things in there that I don't have displayed here. Now, the good thing is that this pack, this is the stuff that I need just to like survive a couple of nights, right? But I also have my chest rig that keeps some excess stuff, right? I have another med kit in my chest rig. I can carry water in my chest rig, obviously ammo. And then I have emergency stuff, and then I have navigation stuff. And I just have extra storage in my chest rig. If you are using this as a survival kit, the bag is just one portion of it. You have a chest rig, and then you also have cargo pants that can carry some more stuff. So you have a lot more stuff you can bring with you. Just mind the weight once again. If you have any more suggestions, definitely leave it down in the comment section below. A lot of you guys are avid backpackers, and I'm sure I'm missing some items, but this has all worked for me over the course of 2-ish years. Backpacking for like maybe 2 or 3 years. But again, I only go once to 3 times a year. So I'm still refining what I need and what I don't need. If you guys have any advice for everyone else in the comment section, leave it down below. As usual, I'll catch you guys in the next one.